Good morning everyone, welcome to my video. It's Friday, it's cold, Friday morning, and it's just cold. It's too cold for a Queenslander. If you know our climate in Queensland, it's pretty balmy most of the time of the year, so to have cold icy days are pretty rare, but when they do we tend to whinge a little. But it's all good. I've been in my craft room since 5:30 this morning, 5 o'clock, because I just couldn't sleep. And I've spent the last 2 hours prepping up my red journal. So I've taken it to a point where I thought I'd better just stop and show you where I'm at. So if you are thinking about a style of journal, this style might be of interest to you. As you know already, the blue journal is going to be an accordion style journal where the strip of fabric is just folded back on itself to create an accordion. So if you did want to do that and you've just found this video, go back maybe 2 videos and you'll see the process that I use to create my accordion blue journal, and that's going to hold my bunting, my blue advent calendar bunting. So the red version of my reindeer panel, I've decided to do its very own journal, and it's going to be along the lines of the journal I did in the first half of the year for Journal of Stitchery. Those 2 journals, which is hardcover books with tab spines. Whether I do a tab spine this time, I'm not 100% sure, or I stitch a piece to go on the side. I'm thinking more of that, so it just looks luscious when it sits inside the bookcase. I can see a Christmassy styled embroidery on the spine. But that's a decision right at the end, I think, because until I know how thick this is going to be, it really, you know, I can't do too much now. So all I've done is prepped my cover. So I cut my cookbook apart in the last video, and I've covered the front with seeded homespun. I really like this. Look at that shadow. I really like this fabric because there's like little seeds in amongst it, and it's quite textured. So love that. I chose this fabric to go with it. I did consider these 2, but I just felt that was a little bit more in keeping with the colors. You'll see what I mean when I open the book. That was close, and that just didn't work. So I don't have a big piece of my fabric that I've chosen for the whole book, the Holly Woods. So I had to sort of match something, and I've had this piece for years. I don't even know where I got it from. If you are interested in this particular designer, that's what I cut off the bottom. So I'll probably work a little bit of this into my pieces because it's sort of part of the whole thing now. So I'm going to keep that little bit. And I was going to cover the front and back with the fabric, but it got really narrow, and it got to the point where I couldn't quite cover the front. So I've only put it on the back of the journal. Okay, which I really like. And I think if I do the tabs, it's actually going to be quite handy because I've got a check here. I'll be able to line the tabs up with the check. So I thought that was pretty tricky, using a lined system to sort of guide you where your spine piece would go. But having said that, I think it might be a big panel. But anyway, we'll get to that. So I've got the seeded homespun on the front, and I've got the red on the back. So at the moment they're separated. I then put on the inside of the cover, I'll use this as the example. So I've cut my fabric about 1 inch bigger. I've just put some glue stick around the outer edge and folded the red fabric in. I then tore a piece of calico just to stick over it, so it's all sealed. So it's 100% ready to go. Okay, so I'll just flip it back. So that's the back, and this is the front. So I've just got to do a piece for the front at some point. I got my red reindeer and have popped him on the inside just with my glue stick. So he's secure, but I did leave that much free because let's say I do a tab spine, which pretty much, if I rip and tear this, let's say that's my tab spine, and I stitch the center, so that's all secure. So let's pretend these pins are stitching and the spine is that wide between the pins. And it probably will, to be honest. I think it'll get literally that big. So that's 3.5 inches. So that's all secure between my fingers. So I can put lace in here, embroidery, I can do all sorts of decorative features there. And that leaves this open. So what would happen then if I did this particular spine is that will sit like that. Okay, so that's solid, can't be moved. So I would then need to get this piece up and tuck it under here. So I would trim that back because it's not needed. So I'll just fold it for now, glue that into position, and then this would come down on top. Okay, actually, I'm going to prep this as if I'm going to do it. And then if I decide, let's just hold the horses. I'm just going to tear this down a little bit more in straightness because the calico is a bit whoopy. So I don't mind the look of that. Don't know if I'll use it, but I guess at least it's torn and ready. So that's the one piece. I've got plenty of width there to make my spine as wide as I need it. So this piece here is just 10.5. So let's get another piece of fabric. Just knock the camera then. And let's just snip and rip another set. We'll do a double spine because it's quite chunky. So I think that's, you know, all we need. I mean a double tab for the spine. So let's just rip that and rip that. So now I've got my spine tabs. I'm still not convinced I'll do this in the end because I can just see a gorgeous piece of stitchery down the spine itself, the whole spine. But who knows? Okay, so we're going to pretend that I've stitched in the center to make this all pretty. There's the pins marking it, and let's say I did so many pieces that I ended up needing a spine that was, look how big this is going to be. What did we say before? 3.5. Let's push it out to 4.5. because I couldn't control myself and I've made so many panels. Oh gosh, I'm so pleased I'm nutting all this out now because, like I've said in the last couple of videos, it just gets crazy busy for me at Christmas, especially November. If you're just tuning in, I own Christmas stores. So in November, everyone wants to get their decorations up and it just goes helter-skelter. By the first week of December, it starts to quieten down and we can sort of breathe again. So I'd say December itself, I'll get lots of stitching done. November will be a write-off due to the busyness of my business. So I'm just pleased I have all of this sorted so I can get home from work and just pick up a page and do a little bit of stitching, which, to be honest, I don't even think that will happen because I'm just so mentally drained. And it's the creativeness. Like, we make wreaths and garlands for customers, and I just, by the time I get home, I'm just exhausted. So it'll be just great to have. So I'll stop gas bagging here. Okay, so I've stitched and decorated this piece here, and that's what my signatures are going to, you know, be stitched onto. And I'm planning on 3 signatures. So this tab then would open like that, and this one, and then this book cover can slide in there with a little bit of a gap so things can swing and move, and that goes across there like that. So that's all glued. Then the same would happen over here, of course, lining it all up. This little guy would go on the front, and that one, and then this one will tuck under my piece there and there, trimming it to suit. So now my book, if I can fold that up with it going, my book, as we close it just carefully there, has a spine of 4.5 inches, which is massive. Like, we could put so many pieces into that. So that's the principle behind a tab spine. And they're gorgeous because you can see all of your signatures. Now, I'll leave that sit there for a moment so you can sort of see the next stage. Now, I've gone ahead and I've torn down my signatures. And my signatures are 2 pieces of calico, one, and that's the second one lying on top of it. Whoops. I've ironed them in half. So as I do my embroideries, I will have one here, one here, one here, and one here. So one signature will hold 4 of the prompts, okay? So I've created that set, ironing it, this one, and this one. So that's 2, 4, 6 pieces of fabric. They are just a bit smaller than the cover, so they tuck in nicely. And they're my foundation for all of my stitcheries. Now, in addition to prepping this, I've, like I mentioned, ironed it, so I get a crease. I've then taken just some sewing cotton and I've put a running stitch right down the center. So now these pieces, when they come with me to the couch and I start doing something, they can't come apart. They're forever fixed. That little running stitch is a really good guide to have when it comes to sewing them into your tabs. For example, let's say we do have a monster tab like this. I would find the middle and then the middle of the side seam. So let's say, I can always iron this out. Let's say that, what is it, 4.5, so 2 1/4. Let's say that's the middle. So I just put a line there, and then I'd find the middle of that. So that allows me to get 3 signatures in. So by having your signature foundation pages together, it makes it really simple to put your needle through here into there, come up here and back to make a pamphlet stitch, stitching that into position right there. Okay, so does that make sense? We'll do this later on in the season, unless I do a full piece, but it's still a tab. It'll be a piece that is, there'll be fabric here basically, so it'll be a big band, and that gives me a bit of room to do a bit more embroidery. So those there will go in, and they're prepped. They have the little stitching through the center of them, so they're not going anywhere, and I can just leave them in my book ready to go. Now you'll probably notice that I have this sitting here. This red journal I want to use as a bit of a storage space for a heap of very precious pieces of crocheting from family. And as I mentioned in the last video, I'm about to be given a bag of goodies from a home that the lady, she's an aunt, she's a cousin but an aunt, she's an elderly lady, has gone into a nursing home. Bless her, she just decided on her own back, it's time, put me in please. I don't want to look after the whole space that I'm in, so it's time. So they scrambled the family and helped to pack up, and she's now settling into her new little villa, and all of the crocheting pieces are coming my way apparently. So that gave me the idea of what am I going to do with all these pieces that I'm inheriting. So I wanted to get this prepped to the point where today's Friday, so this video you'll see on Sunday. Well, I want to spend the weekend just rummaging through all my treasures and finding some of my favourite crocheted doilies and crocheted pieces to add to my red journal. So I thought if I get this done today, being Friday, you guys will be watching it on Sunday, and as you hear me talking now, I would have been up to my arms in crocheting bits and ferreting out some beautiful pieces for my pages. So my plan is, when you flip through this journal, there'll be embroidery here and maybe another one here, and then I might pop a page of doilies in. So it'll be like a bit of a story of the family's crafting. And I may even pop a few names here and there, so I know that when I get to this page, this is my grandmother. So I might put Lorna Reinbott there, and then, you know, some other names as I go through my journal. Now, what was I going to say next? If you're wondering why I've got 2 pieces of fabric in each signature, the reason is, let's say that this is my panel that I've completed, and I've filled the front here with doilies. I can open this up and stitch away, and all my stitching is hidden in here, and I can add my doilies as I find them. Then I do a panel of embroidery that will sit here, and I can tack it on with some little invisible stitches to that page. And when I'm finished, all of this is my messy stitching that will close, and I just do some little stitches around the outer edge. So now my page is finished, and all of my attachment is on the inside. So that's why I use 2 pieces of fabric to join my signature page together. I hope that makes sense. Now, someone suggested, I think it was Pam from Pandora's Junk Journals, to get rid of bulk if you've got a spine that you cannot adjust because it's just too gorgeous and you don't want to muck around with it, but you want to get rid of some of these layers. There's no reason why this couldn't be ripped down so that it is only 2 inches. And then if this was a piece of stitchery, this red fabric, it can still attach on that side. Let's say that that was, you know, only that big, your little page. The stitchery can attach, the second piece can come in behind, and that can be your hinge of your signature, and that would get rid of the need for this, because these two, this is say another stitchery, is sitting on top of that. So your stitches are hidden, and you only need 1 piece of paper, fabric, and yeah, you get rid of a lot of bulk. So I do love that idea as well. So gorgeous. But I'm not going to do that because I love the bulk. I love the feeling already that this gives me because it is thick. So I'm not too worried about it. I don't mind if the spine is, you know, 6 inches. I don't care. It's a journal of fabric. It's going to be big. It's going to be bulky. So I'm not too concerned about that. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to say. Oh no, I've got one other idea I wanted to show you so that I can sort of start fiddling with it, but to bring you up to speed. I'm going to keep those 2 tabs just on the back there, just so they're there. If I want to use them, I've got them. And I've, like I said, I've attached this guy, but I've left it up a little bit so I can slide a tab in or a bigger piece that's going to become my spine. So if you did want to find a home for a piece on the inside of your cover, just keep that in mind, that gap to let you get in there. I've also gone ahead and torn the pieces that I need to embellish on my pages, and they're slightly smaller again. And I haven't done all of them. I think it was only because it was sort of a leftover piece of fabric once I torn down my pages. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, and I can always make more. So they're in there. That's now got its home. So that's pretty much my red book ready to go. There's lots of stitching to do, and it'll just grow as the you know, the months roll on. I'm pretty happy with Blue Book. He is all sorted and under control. My fabric's ready to go. And then I just have to tear some pages to go in when I'm, you know, need to. So that's that. Now, closures on any of these two. I want to do, as I mentioned in the last video, Sarah did a closure and she had a button closing it, and I've never done that before. So I've got this linen shirt. Now, it was my mum's and she doesn't wear it because I haven't mentioned this yet, but unfortunately she passed away earlier in the year, back in March. So just bit by bit, there's little pieces popping up from whenever I go to my parents' farm and, you know, give Dad a hand and check on my dad and brother. And this little linen shirt came out of the cupboard because we're just slowly, you know, tidying up and organising things. And I'll never wear it because she was an itty-bitty girl and I'm a lot larger than she was in frame. So, and it's beautiful linen. It is just gorgeous. And I love how this little detail's here. So when I saw it, I thought, oh, that's got potential. So I brought it back to Brisbane and my plan is to make a closure out of it. So these 3 buttons here, or even maybe I love this bottom bit. I see that there. Oh, it's got a slit there, so that won't work. What I'm thinking of doing is I'll just sketch it at the moment. I'm going to just sketch and talk to you because I'm not 100% sure, but I think by the time I nut this out with you, I'll do it. But then over the weekend, I'll actually cut it and, you know, I'm thinking of cutting it maybe there. So that would be 1.5 inches from the bottom, 1.5 inches from the top. That might be too big. And it's going to then be decorated with fabrics and snippets and, you know, embroidery to do with Christmas. I'm just trying to get the lid back on my pen. So I'm thinking, the reason I keep picking up the blue journal is there's a good white in this, and this is very white. The red one may go like that, but at the moment it just sort of feels like it suits the wintry journal. And if this is a concertina with a decorative spine or not, maybe I just leave that just all stitched together with blanket stitch. I would be able to then use the 3 buttons. See how the width, I'm really liking that width. I might just undo it. And the good thing about using a shirt is when it comes to putting it all together, if I need to take fabric out of it because it's too much fabric, I can't, because I can always cut here and then take a chunk out and rejoin it. And that then will be my closure on the front of it. And I like the fact that it's a piece that is got a bit of a memory and it's linen. So let's say that that's cut there. Tuck that under there so we get the effect. Yeah, I think this will work. And there's all these darts in it. That doesn't matter because I'll either show them or cover them, like who knows. So let's get that out of there. We'll tuck this under. Let's assume we've sliced it. I do really like this edge. So I wonder if I can still use my buttons and still cut it there. Yeah, I can. Look, this is what I was thinking before when I went a bit quiet. how can I use that bottom? So the top is the only bit I'd cut. And I could just trim that. It just about covers the whole journal. So there's my cover in itself. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. So now I get to keep this little decorative edge. There is this little side piece here, this little pleat, dart, whatever you call that. That's all good. It will go around the journal. I'll have excess fabric anyway. I don't even think the dart's going to be an issue because look at that. They're disappearing underneath and they've actually crossed over themselves. So I don't even think the darts will be an issue. And I can always slip stitch them closed if I have to. So that is going to be my closure, this piece of linen, which I can then embroider and decorate and doily up and all sorts. And it's pretty much the perfect size. So there's my cover. I love it. I love it. And because I've got all this excess fabric at the back, it can expand to whatever size I need. It's 100% linen. Yep. Oh, it's from Target. So I got plenty of space. That's great. So yeah, all I'm going to do then is cut it across the top there. I might even go right at that button, come up a little bit, just to, you know, I can always trim it. Oh, I love it. That will bring me right in under the arm there, so that's good. Yeah. I wonder if it will cut and rip okay. Yeah, am I cutting there? I go a little bit higher. I can always bring it back. Now I'm going to hit a dart there. So I'll go till I hit the dart. Now I've hit a side seam. And I'm through the side seam. I'm now coming along the back. I've got another dart. It's such a pretty little top. So it'd be nice to have this on my Christmas journal. And then inside will be doilies from grandparents and aunts and, you know, aunts of the grandparents. And goodness me, I've become the doily girl in the family, which suits me fine because I just don't have time to do as much crocheting as I used to. And that fine crocheting for doilies, oh, that's tough stuff, that is. And I've still got plenty of fabric here where I can do, you know, little bits and pieces. I might bring those buttons into the journal somewhere. Let's get them off now. So I'll add them to my box of tricks so they get used. Otherwise they may get lost forever. They're nothing special, but they have a pearly look about them. Okay. All right. So I'll add them to my pile. So I can pop that aside. Okay. So there is my future cover for my journal. So it'll be just now a case of how big it needs to be. As the journal grows, it will wrap around, and this can be all crazy stitched and then undone, and then out comes my advent calendar. I'll just show you something. Just hold the moment there. Okay. So Anne Brooks, I talk about her all the time, textile artist in the UK. She was having us do a few years back snippet rolls, and they are a lot of fun. It's just a strip of fabric that you just fill with random goodies, and it's like no design, it's just bits and pieces. So my idea was to do that to this piece that becomes the closure, because as I create the panel, there's just going to be bits and pieces left over everywhere. So I was hoping to create this, or, you know, decorated strip. So pearls can go in. This one I did create a bit of a scene. I used the twine to create a branch that meandered everywhere, and then the little yo-yos sort of decorated as if they were, what do you call it, flowers along the branch. So you can certainly do a theme by all means. Oh, maybe I could do holly, and it's a bit hard with blue. Wouldn't holly be beautiful as a snippet roll? Berries, holly. Oh, I hope the girls give us a prompt of holly. I'm sure it'll pop up. If it doesn't, I've got plenty of excess pages so that I can get that out of my head, because now I've got something else in my head. So yeah, imagine this piece full of snippets from our journey. It'll just be, you know, lush. And the beautiful thing is I can add to it as well. Like I probably won't, like I don't put the back on these. I just keep adding. When I find something lying on my desk, I'll just come over to it, like that button, and just stitch it on. And then he's got a home. So I love my little snippet rolls, and I did, you know, 4 different colours, which are colours I tend to use a lot. So I've got, you know, a storage for bits. And every time I look at it, I go, oh yeah, that was the journal I did, or that was the pillow I did. So they're great. Okay, everyone, that's the end of my video. I'm pleased with that. I've nutted out a closure now for my concertina blue journal. I've got my book prepped for my red journal, and they're both completely different, and I think will be just lovely to work in. So now it's really just wait for the prompts and get busy stitching, find some doilies. So there's sort of plenty of side projects that I can keep sort of working with as well, which is fantastic. Okay, everyone, I will leave you all now. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.